Joke Club did if you get on that kick.
Well, thank you. If you want to. What's going on? Interwebs, YouTube, all your friends and family. My name's Chip. Obviously, I'm with RVA Vapes, and this is your. Whoops. This is your January edition of Ask a Vapor. So, sorry I was a little bit late. I was trying to finalize a couple of things for you so that we could get this crack-a-lackin'. As always, make sure that you type in your comments, questions to the little screen right over down here on my screen, but I think it's probably right over here on your guys, so that we can get those answered, because that is the sole purpose of what we're trying to do here. Oh, sorry. It's on that side. I was pointing the wrong way. That's the goal. This is an educational show. We want to try to get as many people that have questions about anything vape related to ask them. I make up, a little list here of things that I think are important to talk about. But if I could throw this in the trash can and just answer questions for the entire hour, I would be more than happy to do so. The whole premise for this show, for those of you that are tuning in that haven't watched before, is that we have a lot of customers that come into the store and say they heard this, that, and the other thing on YouTube at a different vape shop, whatever the case may be. And it's either inaccurate information or the second part of it being bad information, which is something that's even worse. We started doing this show about a year and a half ago to try to combat the misinformation that's being put out there. We do have, things from time to time where I'll show you some cool new stuff that I found, or the new products that are coming out. But at the end of the day, that's more to fill in the time when people aren't asking questions. So if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the comment section right over here. And I'm watching it on my screen over here. So if I see it, I'll stop what I'm doing and focus on your question. As you know, if you have tuned into the show before, the very first thing we always try to do is start off with our advocacy update. I believe last month we talked about the appropriations bill that was they were trying to get ratified before the holidays came through. To the best of my knowledge, that hasn't been approved for the grandfather date. Let me double check that because I didn't get a chance to. But I do want to talk about something called Vapes Giving. I don't know if a lot of you guys are aware of this or not, but Vapes Giving actually was started and was supported by a company called Naked 100. So that's why I'm wearing their shirt today, because I want to shout those guys out for kind of stepping up to the plate and leading the charge on this whole vape giving movement. They were willing to match dollar for dollar up to a lot of zeros worth of money to help the VTA, CASA, the VSFA, which is part of the Vapor Trade Association, or the VTA, and tried to get the word out to help get places to donate. And we want to thank them for that. They did a wonderful job stepping up to the plate on that one. So as I'm checking here, to the best of my knowledge, that House Appropriations Bill did not get passed with the grandfather date, what used to be known as HR 2058. They may or may not have given that a new name, but it was tacked on as a rider to the House Appropriations Bill. Yeah, I'm not seeing it on here. So to the best of my knowledge, that did not make it through as part of the House Appropriations Bill, which is something that we were really hoping we could get done. So that's your advocacy update for this month. I was watching that very closely, not closely as the new year passed through, because I was expecting to hear some news about it, but I did not, and that's what makes me think that it didn't get passed, unfortunately. However, that being said, I do have a couple of little news type of info that can take the supplemental spot of the advocacy update, and that is that there was a study that just got posted. Um, that just got posted out of South Carolina, and it was the first what's considered a long-term study where it was multiple months, and it was the first long-term study into whether or not vaping is a lot of the reason that the FDA is hawking on vaping so hard is that they say it's not a good alternative, or it's not satisfying enough for smoking cessation. So we're not allowed to tell people that it's a good alternative to smoking or any of those type of things. But I found this was pretty interesting. A study out of the University of South Carolina. It was a 4-month long study, and they basically came to the conclusion that almost half of the people that were using a higher strength of nicotine um, went out and purchased vape devices on their own and were not smoking towards the end of the study. And people at the lower nicotine strength than probably what they should have been at, about a third of them went out and purchased their own vape device and were not smoking by the end of the 4-month trial. So that's a really positive study that I think deserves to be highlighted. So I'm going to give a toot for all you guys at the University of South Carolina. That toot's for you guys. Keep up the good work. We need as much well done scientific study behind the vaping movement as we can get. So we appreciate it to you guys. The other thing that was really interesting, and this just came out like, what, last week? Thursday, it says. Sorry, I'm looking at the calendar up there. Thursday, Philip Morris, which I don't know how many of you guys are aware of this or not, but where I'm sitting right now talking to you is less than a mile from Altria's headquarters. Let that sink in for a minute. This shop is literally the closest shop in the entire world to the enemy. And we have their employees coming here all the time. Some of them are our customers. Some of them are people that flew in from other areas or are visiting, and they come and buy stuff for research purposes. But we're literally on the front lines of big tobacco, and we fight the fight every day to help spread, the good word about vaping, but also to help educate people. And they announced on last Thursday that they released what they're calling a manifesto, and it's a really long document. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't read the whole thing. I just got a synopsis from Vaping 360, which is a really good source for news. I don't know how many of you people are aware of that, but I check there, every at least couple of weeks to see if there's anything that I don't know about, or that I need to learn about. And crap, that's not the thing. Well, anyway, they are in their manifesto that they released. They are saying that they're donating a ton of money and putting somebody that's very well known as a anti-tobacco advocate, I guess. They envision a world where there will be no smokers, which obviously is something that, A Billion Lives documentary that was done, and we helped contribute to, and helped put up a screening for with our fellow VTA or VSFA members, said that it is possible that within this generation, if vaping is given the right opportunity and nurtured correctly, we could see this being the last generation that there are smokers, period. And that seems to be kind of what Philip Morris is going after with their manifesto, that they see a future without smoking, and they're donating a really large amount of money towards this goal, if you will. And part of that goal is pursuing more vaping type products in the near future. So they're basically saying that they plan on stopping the production of tobacco cigarettes in the future. Doesn't have any kind of specific dates or deadlines or anything like that that I could see, but very interesting. Philip Morris says they're going to stop making cigarettes. Wonder what all that means. Anywho, so in our that's our advocacy update, informational segment, whatever you want to call it. The next thing is common misconceptions, and I apologize for the clicky clicky here in the background. I do apologize for that, but I'm kind of pulling my images and stuff together on the fly here, so please bear with me. I didn't have as much time to plan this out this week because we got a lot of stuff going on here locally at the shop. But that being said, that's no excuse for shoddy work. So here we've got a little infogram that I want to talk about. And our common misconceptions this month, they're going to be talking about battery safety. It's a new year, so with that, one of the things that I personally do is I'd go through all the batteries that I have for my vape devices. And if you're not familiar, what we're talking about is these guys right here. These happen to be 18650 cells. That's what they're called. It's 18 millimeter diameter and 650 millimeter length. That's where the name 18650 comes from. For those of you that don't know, these are actually what's in most of our laptops. Older ones, I don't know if the newer ones still have them or not. I haven't broken them out to check it, but that's where the technology originated from. And then it was transitioned into LED high-powered flashlights, and that's essentially where the first kind of vape mods, if you will, to modify a flashlight is where you get the term vape mod. Anyway, that's the genesis of the whole battery safety, or the whole 18650 lithium ion batteries that we use in vape devices today. So in the new year, what I like to do is I'll go through all my batteries and kind of look at them, inspect them, make sure they don't have broken wraps, if you will. And to give you an example of that, this is a broken wrap. Now, none of the sides of it are exposed except for that little nick piece right there. And I want to give you a little better view of this. Hang on a second. I got some new toys, so we want to try to utilize them a little bit better here so I can show you guys a little bit better about what I'm talking about. So you can see the wrap on that one is kind of chewed up a little bit, but that's kind of what we're looking for, because if you see, the edge is actually exposed a little bit, and that's the main thing that you want to look for, is find any of those exposed edges. There we go. Any of those exposed edges, that is something that I would say either needs to be rewrapped or it needs to be completely tossed. Now, if you're going to rewrap a battery, it's something that I would definitely practice on something else before you get one of these cells in your hands trying to rewrap it, because it's essentially a process of stripping this layer or casing off, making sure that insulator that's in there stays in the right position, and then you're going to take a PVC shrink wrap and heat it. But you have to be careful you don't get the actual cell itself too hot, because that's when you could get into thermal expansion or thermal runaway, which is essentially what most people refer to as a battery blowing up or venting. And if you're not careful, you can do that when trying to rewrap a battery. So if you don't have experience with it, I wouldn't recommend doing it yourself necessarily. Before you do a little bit of homework, practice, that sort of thing. But that, oh, here's a better. We have a battery graveyard here because we collect old batteries that have been given to us by customers that didn't take care of them properly, and we take them off their hands for them so that nobody gets hurt. So I'm going to show you some of the stuff we get in here. That one's pretty gnarly. This one's one of my favorites. Look at that guy. Just completely shot. So if you have batteries that look like this, throw them away. Please, please, please. If it's that bad to where you've got like dents and like curvature of the metal, that cell integrity is compromised. And the next time you mishandle it, it's going to do the same thing, and you could potentially risk thermal runaway, which is also known as a vented battery. And you can see, if you look at the wrap, you see those like dark splotches all through there. That's actually part of the guts of the battery seeping out. And that's not really good to handle. Like, I should probably wash my hands after doing this. But this is the time of year when I go through and look at all my batteries and make sure that they're all tip-top shape. We want to check the edges, like I showed you before, and you want to check the wrap as well. This is another one that you can see has been abused, very much so. So if you have anything that looks like this or the other ones I showed you, please throw them away. Batteries are not that expensive to where it's worth risking your life or the life of somebody that you're close to. Because the people that let their batteries look like that are the people you see on the news, where you've got a big flashbang of fire or heat expulsion on the bus or in the convenience store because something metal touched up against that battery, and because the wrap is degraded, it causes a spark. And if you're wearing anything that's got like polyester or rayon or anything that is going to transmit the heat, what you get is basically a big flash, aka a fireball. So if you have like the first battery that we showed you where it's just a little nick on the bottom, and the battery cell itself seems to be somewhat intact and still in good working order, you can rewrap them. I myself bought a big old thing of wraps that were like pre-cut, and it's basically just wire heat sink for wires, but it's a PVC version. It's not a rubberized version. And I think I got like 200 something wraps for like $3 on eBay. And we actually keep some here at the store specifically for our employees and our regulars, because we would rather give you one of these PVC sleeves and you go home and do it yourself, because we're not allowed to do it, thanks FDA, than see you walking around with a jacked up battery that could cause you problems in the future. And this is, you can see there's a ton of them here. I could do, at least 30 or 40 sets of batteries just with this. So, everybody that's watching this, pause the video. Well, it's live, so you can't do that. But if you're rewatching it, pause the video, go find all your batteries, take a look at them. If they look like any of the ones I just showed you, you can decide if it doesn't have any dents and it's still fairly good integrity of the battery, then you could look into rewrapping it. If it's not, throw it away. We sell batteries $20 for a pair, $10 each. It's not that expensive, and it will perform so much better. The other reason that I look at all my batteries every year is because a lot of times I'll have had them and they're not holding the charge that they used to, and it's time to just go ahead and retire them before it gets to that point that we saw earlier. So please check your batteries. It's a new year. That's the best time to do it. That way you can get it out the way. If you need to go get a couple new pairs of batteries, chances are you've either got a tax return coming up or you got a little bit of Christmas money. Instead of blowing all your money on a new mod, make sure you set aside, 10 or 20 bucks, get you a couple pairs of batteries. You'll be much happier. Your year will go much smoother. So other than that, we obviously want to check the wraps, make sure that you got the right kind. If they're re-wraps, it's real hit and miss because you don't know what the cell is underneath that. So if it's like an EFES or Orbtronics or Imrin or something like that, there's no telling what's inside that wrap. So be damn sure that it's in very good condition cell-wise. There's no dents or dings anywhere before you try to rewrap it. Because if you're going to rewrap something that's already dinged up, you're not really doing anything except wasting time. The other part of it is, especially for all you guys that are getting new mods or have new mods, make sure that the battery fits properly. If it's too snug or if it's too long, too short, too wide, whatever the case may be, don't force it in there, because that's how you end up with a dent in it, or that's how you end up with the wrap being torn, like you saw in that brown LG that I showed you. The other thing that you want to know about battery safety is that and this applies specifically to people that are using mechanical mods, make sure you know the amp limit of your battery. If you're running let's say, Samsung 25R, that's only got about a 15 to 20 amp capacity. So if you're running a low sub-ohm build, that battery is being pushed past its amp threshold. And that's when you're going to see like that yellow battery that I showed you, where it gets too hot and it swells up and the wrap just splits all the way down the side. So please make sure, if you're using mechanical mods, know the amp limit of your builds. And if you're building, and then find out the amp limit of your battery. The EFES batteries and the Imrin batteries that say like 35, 30 and all that, there's no 18650 ever made that has higher than a 30 amp limit. And there's only 2 of them that have ever been made that have a 30 amp limit. That's the Sony VTC4s and the Samsung 30Qs. And those are very hard to find. The Sony VTC4s used to be very popular, but the capacity wasn't very big. But you will find a lot of clones of those. So if the price is too good to be true, chances are it probably is. So make sure that you find out what the amp limit is on your batteries. The cool thing is, most regulated mods nowadays will actually show you. You can see right there, it says amp. So when I push the fire button, it tells me how many amps it's pulling. That's something that's worth knowing, definitely. And that's why we're very big on regulated mods here, because you can get more battery life and just as good performance as a mechanical mod, but it's a heck of a lot safer. Most of these regulated mods have a chip built into them that limits your amp output. So it's not going to let you push the batteries farther than they can go. So, other than that, I think we got pretty much everything covered on the battery side. But mechanical users, definitely find out what your build is, and then you can do the math based on that. If you have a point, like I have an app on my phone that actually tells me, let me see if I can find it here. I'm not an iPhone guy, so all you iPhone guys, you're on your own. But mine's called Vapor Calc. It's free on the Google Play Store. And I can go right here to the Ohm Calc button. It's at the top, looks like that. And I can type in everything I got right there. So let's check my mod and see if I'm right. You only need 2 parameters. So I know I'm running at 50 volts. And it says my coil is 0.4. So I'm going to put that in the ohms. So you can see right there, 50 volts, 0.4 ohms. I hit calculate. Oh, I'm an idiot. It's not 50 volts. It's 50 watts. That makes a big difference. There you go. See, now I got it right. I'm sure somebody was watching. It's like, you put it in volts, dummy. So now, when we calculate it, you can see right there that I'm running at 4.47 volts, 50 watts, zero point 0.4 ohms equals 11.18 amps, which is pretty much exactly what we saw. It was 11.1 or 11.2 on the mod itself. So that's a good piece of information to know. Other than that, if you've got a battery that looks rough, toss it and buy a new one. Mine usually get tossed because they're just not holding a charge as well, and they're only designed for 300 to 500 cycles. So if I'm using it every day and I'm charging it every day, that's about a year and a half-ish, and that range is where most batteries last me. And I've noticed over the past couple of months that some of my batteries are not lasting a full day anymore. So that's what I've been doing the last week, is going through and marking the batteries that I think are suspect, and then I'll compare it apples to apples with a fresh pair of batteries that I bought to replace them, and I can usually tell pretty quickly if they're time to be retired or not. Now, as far as disposing of them, that's something that you're going to have to check out locally in your area. I know Best Buy used to take them. We used to give all of ours to them, and they would dispose of them. But they stopped doing that because vaping's become so big. So now I actually bag them all up because we take them from customers here at the store when they're bad. Because I would rather dispose of them and know that they got taken care of than have you go home and chuck in your trash can and your trash can blow up on Auto the Garbage Man. So I actually take them all up, and when I tape the tops and bottoms off and I throw them in a box, and when the box gets full, I take it to the dump. I think it costs like $10. I dump the whole box off at the dump and let the county take care of them. So please make sure you dispose of them properly. As far as caring for them, there are these cool little things. Sorry. They're these cool little things that you may have seen before or may have heard of. It's called a battery case, right? This one, you open it up, and oh, look at that. I can put my batteries in there. I don't have any with me. Oh, I guess I could do this. Bam. It's a little plastic case. It costs you maybe $1 or $2 at the most. Bam. Look at that. Holds my batteries, nice and safe. I can put it in my pocket. That way, both the ends are covered. So even if I got change or keys in my pocket, it can't make contact with that and arc and cause a big fireball explosion. So when I buy a couple sets of batteries, I always make sure I get this. Ask your local vape shop, do you guys carry battery cases? If they say no, then I would maybe find a different vape shop. But you can order them online if you can't find them there. Again, you could probably get them on eBay for dirt cheap. But definitely worth the investment. I usually, when I break one, I'll buy a new one. I have in the past, I've seen like 5 or 10 packs on eBay. I bought those a couple of times and just gave them to customers or friends that couldn't afford them, because it's definitely a smart investment. Being able to carry my batteries in a battery case like that has kept me from having any type of problems whatsoever with my batteries. So, if there are no further questions, that will conclude my rant about battery safety. Moving right along, I've got something really cool that I want to talk to you guys about. Oh look, battery cases. Oh look, more battery cases. I carry those in my backpack. That's how I transport all my batteries. Nope. I mean, that is cool, but that's not what we were talking about. Maybe it's on this side. Oh, did I forget? Oh, no, that's right. I remember where I put it. I remember. No. Did I forget to do it? Shit. Oh, look at that. It's a 26650 battery case. Bam. Dun, 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 dun. That's what we were going to talk about. So, I kept my original coil that I used on it, and I was gonna take it apart and show you guys what's going on in there, but I guess I forgot to put it. Oh wait, is that it? What is that? No, what is that? But I guess I didn't pack it with me today. Dag nabbit. Oh well. So I know we talked about last month the mesh. The mesh is something that's really popular right now, and it's coming along nicely. And I'm kind of excited about it. I have no idea what's in this tank. So this guy is the first sub-ohm mesh tank, and it's from our good friends at Freemax. It is the Freemax Fire Loop Mesh. So the reason that I was going to bring the coil was to take it apart and show you what was going on inside of it, but I guess I'll just have to make do with what I've got, and that is a Fire Loop Mesh sample tank that's got just a little bit of juice in it, but let's see if we can vape that out real quick. Sorry, is that kind of loud? I've had this tank for about a week and a half, and there's a review coming on that. I think it's coming out Saturday. But let's see if I can do this. Nah, not really. Probably can't see that. Let's see if we do it this way. Oh, maybe a little bit. The coil in there is mesh heating element. Very cool. Very cool. Cutting edge stuff right here, ladies and gentlemen. There's no round coil in there. There's no flat wire in there. There's none of that. It's just a straight mesh coil. It's, to the best information I got, it's a Kanthal coil, which is an interesting choice. Only thing I could think is to try to get the highest resistance out of it, because as you can see, it is a 0.15 coil. So pretty low for a sub-ohm tank. But I am very, very impressed with this thing. It's the finish on it's a little bit different. You can see it's got kind of a like ridged, almost mesh type look to it, and even the coil itself has the same look. But 55 watts, and you saw all that vapor that just came out. But the thing that really impresses me the most about it is the flavor. You've got mesh in there that's probably about yay big, just above where the wicking holes go. So from there all the way down to the bottom, obviously for connectivity purposes. But because it's solid surface area all the way through there, I feel like I get twice as much flavor out of this as any sub-ohm tank I've ever hit before. The only gripe I have about it is it's loud, and I'm sure you guys can hear that. The weirdest part about this to me is the way that they designed the coil on the bottom. They made it like a box square on the bottom and left some really like hard edges, and I'm sure most people don't pay attention to the airflow on the bottom of the coil, but if you look at most coils, like this is a what is this? This is an X-Baby T6 coil, right? So if you look at that, it's fairly open down there, right? And they try to keep as much material away from there as they possibly can so that you can get more airflow up through there. It makes sense, right? I don't have any other sub-ohm tanks within my reach to kind of show you what I'm talking about. Oh, yes I do. I lied. Here's another one. This is a Pro Core C coil from Joytac, aka Baby Beast coil. And you can see it's fairly open on the bottom, right? Not much there, just enough to get the current of electricity through to the coils, the heating elements themselves, and it's not much to it. I don't know this for sure, but I have a sneaking suspicion that part of the reason this tank is so damn loud is because of that weird box design on the bottom of the coil. And screw it, I'm just going to take this apart to show you guys because I'm really excited about this. This is something that I think is going to really revolutionize vaping as we know it. So let's see if I can do this. There we go. So that's a better shot. Let me get the light for you. There we go. That's a much better shot right there of that mesh down inside the coil, right? And, there we go. Now you can kind of see it. Look at that. Is that cool or what? That whole piece down in there is mesh. Goes all the way down. So as you can see, tons and tons of surface area. But let me take this guy out and show you exactly what I'm talking about. You see that weird box thing? What is that? Why would you do that? Like, I don't know what they were thinking. It's literally a square with a tiny little round extra piece on the bottom to make it taller. Like, why would you even think that that would be a good idea for airflow is beyond me. But there you have it. That's the base of the mesh fire loop coil. If I had to bet, I would say that's the reason that this thing is so freaking loud. But if the biggest complaint I have about the tank is that it's loud, obviously it's a pretty good tank. So the first coil, like I said, I apologize. I meant to bring it with me today to take it apart so you could really see what's going on inside there. But the first coil I had lasted me roughly 2 weeks, and the flavor on it was phenomenal. I put 4 or 5 different juices on it to try to figure out what kind of material was inside the mesh was, and it seemed to perform a little bit better with fruitier flavors than it did. I didn't get a lot of the like creamy notes and really desserty, savory notes off of it, which I think they could fix with different types of coil materials. But all in all, again, if that's the biggest complaint I've got, nothing to worry about. We do have these guys in stock, and if you go on the website, you can find all the different assortments of colors that we have on them. That drip tip did not come with it. It has a drip tip that comes with this, but we just got these cool drip tips in, so I needed an 810 drip tip, so there you go. But the mesh coil heating element is a awesome thing. And if you're looking for a new sub-ohm tank, or if you're just tired of the one you've got, or if you just want more flavor out of your vape, I would definitely recommend checking out the Fire Luke mesh tank. And like I said, we do have them in stock on our website, shop.rvavapes.com. So please go on there and check out. I'll put a link in the description so that you can find it if you're watching this at a later date. And as with all of our reviews, there's a coupon code associated with it. So maybe wait till Saturday and check out that review, and you can find out what the coupon code is, eh? Yeah. So, bam, there's your link in the description. So that's the newest thing that I'm super excited about. The other thing we've got coming in is what they're referring to as a pod system. So I don't know how many of you guys have messed with the pod systems or Nick salts or any of that kind of stuff, but I just want to spend the last like 10 minutes or so going through a couple things. So the device that we have is probably the best the best pod system vape that I've experienced. It's a really, really good small device that's got tons of little parts and pieces to it, but it is a phenomenal vape device. Now this guy is from one of our friends that made the Loch Ness mod. Kind of a newer company on the scene, but it seems like they don't really do anything bad. And this is called the Envy Fit. So the specs on this guy are, it's a 0.6 ohm coil, and that's what that little goldish, I guess, funnel looking thing would be on the left. That's your coil there. And that little top piece comes to the center of that pod, just to the right of it, and that's your airflow chimney, if you will. And then the pod to the right holds 3.2 milliliters. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but one of the things that you have to keep in mind with this pod style of device is that it's designed for nic salts and higher milligram e-liquids. So I've got a little thing that I've got printed out here that I want to kind of go through with you guys about nic salts so that you can kind of get a different perspective on it. But most companies that are making liquids that have nic salts in them, the liquids are very high milligram strength. So you're talking anywhere from 30 to 50 mg, like the Juul pods, for example. That's what you're looking at, is a nic salt e-liquid. And my experience has been that with the 35 mg nic salts that I've been using in this guy, I can get about a week and a half to 2 weeks out of a 3.2 mil tank. So that pod full lasts me about a week and a half to 2 weeks. Now, nic salts are a completely different type of e-liquid. So most of what we're used to is what's referred to as free-base nicotine, and that's your average everyday e-liquid that you buy. That's the type of nicotine that's in it. It's called free-base nicotine. And this is slightly more volatile, and it's harder for your body to absorb than the nic salts. Now, the nic salts are is a natural state of the tobacco leaf's nicotine. Consists of free-base nicotine bound to an organic constituent and is more of a stable molecule. That shit is way above my pay grade, so I'm not even going to try to act like I know what any of that means. But nic salts have a lower pH than free-base nicotine and a smoother hit upon inhale. For example, 40 mg nic salt is comparable throat hit of a 6 or a 12 free-base nicotine. And I can tell you from my experience that is 100% true. The 35 mg nic salt that I was using felt very much like a 3 or a 6 that I was hitting in this Envy Fit that you're looking at here. So the benefits of the nic salts are that the body's able to absorb it faster and get into the bloodstream faster. So it's more of an instant feel, like when you get that first pull off of a cigarette. So that's why a lot of people are really giving this very high marks. It's more stable and it has a longer storage life. So it's a better alternative to a higher strength like 18 or 24 mg free-base nicotine, because the storage life is much better, but it's going to be a smoother throat hit for you. And that's the liquid that this device is designed to use. One of the biggest misconceptions about nic salts is that you can put nic salts in like a Baby Beast tank or a sub-ohm tank or something like that. It's not designed for that. You're going to get nicked out way, 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 way fast. And you don't want to, you're not going to enjoy the flavor, and it's going to be harsh. So putting nic salts in your everyday tank that you use all the time is a bad idea. But in a device like the Fit or a Juul or a Pulse or a Aspire Breeze or something like that, that's not a sub-ohm device, that's a pod style or pod system type of device, you're going to get amazing results out of these nic salts in these pod style devices. We also got your eye cares, your Surin drops, and your Surin airs. Those are pod style devices that are smaller capacity, smaller battery. It's more of a portable style device, but those are the type of devices that are designed for these nic salts. So that right there is the Envy Fit. Like I said, the coil's on your left, the goldish color. The pod on the middle is 3.2 milliliters. So that's the biggest pod out of any pod style device that I've ever seen. And the device itself is really cool because it has that little key ring at the bottom, which is kind of cool, but it's kind of a gimmicky thing too. But it's also got a stealth mode where the light just underneath the drip tip there, that kind of clearish opaque looking thing, there's different color LEDs in there, and you can turn it into stealth mode, which makes that light not light up at all. I used this in the movie theater quite often. But you've also got the auto mode, so you can turn it to where you just draw and it fires, or it's got that black button on the side, so you can do it traditional style like a regular mod would be. So you've got the auto draw where no button and it produces vapor, or you can turn it on with the button so it's just like regular. But the draw that you get off that, the flavor from the nic salts is going to be a lot cleaner than an 18 or 24 freebase nicotine would be. And if you're somebody that's looking for a stealthy device or a device that is going to give you more bang for each puff, I would definitely consider looking at some pod style devices with nic salts. We do have the Envy Fits in stock right now, so you can check those out. We've got a special running on them where you get they're like the starter kits with the freebase type nicotine stuff, and it's $40 for the device and all the freebase nicotine. You get 4 full pods. We've got tobacco, menthol, fruit, and custard, I believe. The tobacco one's got VCT in it with an 18 strength, so that's a really good one. Anybody that's been here knows we like VCT. The fruit one, I believe, has crunkberry from our friends at Fusion. Crunkberry is a really good juice. It's got that in 18. The menthol one has Easy Does It on ice. Easy Does It's something we're a big fan of here from our friends at Ruthless. And oh, the custard one comes with Cannoli B1. So all the Casadaga boys, shout out to you guys. We've got that one as well. So come in and pick one of those up if you want one. We should have the regular devices with the empty pods up on our website within the next week or two. But the nic salts is where we're really focusing on right now, because we want people to understand you cannot take these 35 and 50 mg nic salts and put them in your Baby Beast tank or your Fire Luke mesh tank, or your iJoy Squonk box, or any of that stuff. It has to be in a pod system. Otherwise, you're going to have a really bad experience. You're going to have a really bad time, and you could potentially get sick. So make sure you are aware that nic salts go in a pod style or a pod system device. That being said, my experience with the Envy Fit with the nic salts has been very, very pleasant. I do find that the nic salts are a little bit rougher on coils, so I don't get maybe 2 weeks out of the Envy coils with the nic salts in them. Coil life's a little bit better with the freebase stuff, but the instant nicotine rush satisfaction that I got out of the nic salts was very, very welcoming. And I have to admit, it kind of caught me off guard at first, and I thought maybe I was over nicking myself or whatever. But it's just the way that the salt is absorbed into your lungs much faster than your freebase or regular e-juice. So at first it really took me back, and I was a little bit worried about it, but after I did some more research and figured out that it was because of the nic salt stuff, I really started to enjoy it, to be honest with you. I took it to a concert up in DC. I went and saw Jay-Z at the Verizon Center, and obviously any big venue like that's very, very hardcore, no vaping, no smoking. But I sat right in my seat and vaped on it. Nobody said anything, and I was completely satisfied the entire time. I took it to see Star Wars and sat in the back row and tooted on that thing. Nobody said peep about it. because it doesn't produce nearly as much vapor. So I'm getting the nicotine that I need, and it's hitting me faster than, you know, chain vaping on this thing in 3 mg would. So it's definitely a satisfying vape, and it's a very kind of clean, crisp flavor. Whereas with the higher freebase nicotines like 18 and 24, you get that spicy, almost peppery kind of aftertaste to it from that nicotine. I didn't have that at all with the Nic salts, even at 35 mg. So it's definitely something worth checking out if you haven't done it already, or if you want to know more about it. Obviously, you can, you know, holler at us, stop by the shop, or check out any of your local shops wherever you are, and they can hopefully give you the right information that we just gave you about Nic salts and the pod style devices. That being said, it's time for a giveaway. So let me pull it up here. We did on our, this is a new thing that we're going to be doing. Every month I'm going to announce the giveaway winners for our giveaways that we've been doing, and this one is for the the Aspire Skystar Revo kit. So let me see where we're at. Okay, so bear with me a second. I'm not 100% sure I know what I'm doing. Bam, here we go. Okay. Dynamic. Okay, so one or two reviews a month, we're going to be doing a giveaway. We've started this YouTube channel at the beginning of the year to try and help educate, but also to give people in other parts of the country the same great prices that we offer here locally in Richmond. So on every one of these YouTube videos, we throw a coupon code in there. So if you like the product, you want to get your own, you've got a coupon code to get you 10% off your order. It's kind of our friends and family discount for those of you that are not with us here in Richmond. But for the YouTube video, for the giveaway, as it were, one of the really only requirements is subscribe to our page, share the video. That being said, I'm trying to find the information that I had so that we can throw you guys in a randomizer and get somebody a Revo Skystar kit. Is this the thing I'm looking for? Nope. Nope. Is it? Nope. Or Fui. I apologize for the dead air right now, folks, but I didn't think about this until just now, and I'm kind of screwing the pooch on this. I totally get that. Oh, wow, I screwed the pooch on that too. Jiminy Crickets. Well, I am screwing the pooch all over the place, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize, but you're going to have to bear with me here. I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do. So you guys aren't hanging on here. We're running out of time. I'm going to put the Aspire Skystar winner at the end of the mesh tank review, which should be coming out Saturday. So as long as nothing else happens, tune in Saturday right here on our YouTube page. Not only will you get a full review of this wonderful mesh Fire Luke tank, but you will also get a winner for the Skystar Revo kit from Aspire. So that being said, I also have 2 of these mesh Fire Luke tanks to give away. So make sure you watch that review, find the coupon code. If you want to buy one, you don't want to wait for the giveaway, go ahead and do that. Please subscribe to our wonderful new YouTube channel here. Make sure you tell your friends, share it if you like what you saw. And other than that, I'm going to bid you guys a farewell. It's 8:30. That's my time to go. Thank you for tuning in. If we didn't get to your questions, leave them up here. I check every couple of days to make sure that we didn't miss anybody on the YouTube channel as well as on our Facebook. RVA Vapes, our website, rvavapes.com. And you can follow us on the Insta as well, at RVA Vapes. And we even tweet and all that good stuff. Tweet, just like the president. You know how he get down. We do that too. That's also at RVA Vapes. If you have any other questions, you know how to find me. I just gave you like 5 options. So thank you again for your time. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, if you want to smoke, that's your business. If not,